7 Divine Revelations, Superatural phrases Christians must avoid for heavenly deliverance. In the quaint village of Chatham, where time often felt suspended, faith was the soil from which hope flourished. Mary, a devoted mother, bore witness to this truth. She spent countless evenings in prayer, her heart ardently pleading for divine intervention in her son Jacob's struggle with addiction. Each room in her home echoed her unwavering belief. Crosses adorned the walls, prayer candles flickered like stars caught in their own glow, and the fragrance of incense filled the air, creating a sacred space where miracles could breathe. But whispers began to slither through the village. Can prayer really change anything? Some murmured. It felt like a storm brewing, casting shadows over the once bright conviction of the villagers. Yet Mary, steadfast in her faith, found solace in the patron saint of their chapel, known for his miraculous intercessions. She imagined the saint's warm light enveloping her, guiding her prayers, each word echoing in the heavens. Certain phrases began to haunt her. What if it's too late? Prayer doesn't work anymore. They lingered in her mind like shadows, threatening to steal her hope. In the depths of her spirit, she felt a gentle prompting: avoid the negativity, shake off the doubt. Embrace hope. In that moment, Mary vowed to banish every harmful whisper and cling to the sacred phrases that spoke of light and deliverance. The chapel stood as their refuge, its stone walls steeped in tradition. It was there that the community gathered one fateful night, serious and expectant. Flickering candles cast playful shadows over their faces as heartfelt testimonies spilled forth, a chorus of shared burdens entwined with a tapestry of prayers. Mary's heart began to swell as she watched each person pour their soul into the atmosphere. Maybe we can change the tide, she thought, strengthened by the united energy pulsing through the room. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the prayers crescendoed, Mary's mind raced with fear and hope. Jacob's condition seemed to worsen day by day. Suddenly, a hush fell over the congregation. All eyes turned to the back of the chapel, where a figure emerged. Jacob, disheveled but alive, stepped into the warm glow of candlelight. His eyes shimmered with a clarity she hadn't seen in years. He looked around, bewildered but captivated. "Mom. I feel different. Something has shifted." The room erupted with gasps and whispers of awe. Mary's heart soared, it felt as if the heavens had opened. Yet, a wavering question loomed in the back of her mind: had the village's skepticism truly evaporated, or merely transformed into something more insidious? As joy unfurled within her, shadows danced around her thoughts. Had the destructive whispers taken flight, or had the power of collective prayer ushered in a new dawn? With each heartbeat, Mary felt a pull from the altar, an invitation to trust deeper, to seek out those aspects of her faith that had always remained just out of reach. After all, in this dance of doubt and belief, what blessings could still flow? As Mary gazed at Jacob, her heart a tapestry of emotions, hope battled with the shadows of doubt. His presence, once a flicker of despair, now radiated a warmth that enveloped the room. The air crackled with renewed faith, tangible and alive. The congregation, knit together in collective awe, whispered prayers of gratitude, each syllable rising to the heavens like incense. "Praise be to God." An elderly man called out, tears coursing down his weathered cheeks. "This is a miracle." Mary's lips parted in a silent prayer. "Thank you, Lord, for bringing him back to us, for showing us that hope never dies." A wave of peace washed over her, soothing the tempest of uncertainty. Yet, as Jacob stepped closer, she noticed the fragility etched onto his face: a battle not yet won. "Jacob," she whispered, her voice trembling, "what happened to you?" He hesitated, his brow furrowing as if he were fetching memories from the depths. "I don't know, Mom. I was lost, but then something it pulled me." The light in his eyes flickered, as if recalling the shadow that had once consumed him. In that moment, Mary felt a tug at her spirit, a whisper that beckoned her to look beyond the physical realm, to witness the divine work unfolding. It wasn't merely Jacob's return that signified a miracle, it was the shift in the village, the stirring of hearts, the awakening of belief that had been dormant for so long. The congregation began to sing, their voices lifting higher, cascading like a river of worship. "Great is thy faithfulness," they repeated the line, and Mary sang along, each word resonating deep within. This was more than just a song, it was a declaration that reverberated against the very walls of doubt. Suddenly, the doors of the chapel burst open, fierce winds sweeping through, as if heaven itself had decided to join their gathering. Gasps filled the air as leaves from outside danced around the room, swirling in a harmony of grace. Mary glanced towards the entrance, and in that fleeting moment, she glimpsed an elderly woman who looked familiar, a vision of the saint who had always enveloped her in comfort. "Look!" Mary pointed, her voice high with excitement. "It's her!" The villagers followed her gaze, and a collective gasp surged. In an instant, the air thickened with a fragrance, sweet and ethereal, as if the all-encompassing presence of divine love was cascading over them in waves. Jacob stood mesmerized, his earlier confusion transforming into wonder, as he breathed in the sacred atmosphere. "What is happening?" he asked, awe etched on his features, searching his mother's eyes for answers. "This is a moment of divine visitation," Mary murmured, sensing the energy thrumming through the air. The unyielding grace of God was touching their lives once more, urging them to embrace the miraculous and to let go of lingering apprehension. But in the back of her mind, a small voice whispered, "What if this is temporary?" There, amidst the floods of joy, doubt still lingered. Mary resolved then and there to guard her mind against such thoughts, vowing to fortify her heart with unshakable faith. With the congregation enraptured, she breathed deeply, drawing on the collective strength of their prayers, fanning the flames of hope. "Together, we can fill our space with divine glory together." And just as that thought settled like sweet incense, a sudden hush fell again, followed by a profound stillness, stirring expectations of something far greater to unfold what awaited them in the heart of this unexpected visitation. As the hush gripped the chapel, it felt as if the very air itself held its breath. Mary could feel every heartbeat, every flicker of anticipation echoed in the faces around her. She turned her gaze back to Jacob, searching for a glimmer of insight in his eyes. What had he seen? What had he felt? In that stillness, the elderly woman at the entrance stepped closer, her presence felt like a soft light, illuminating the corners of the dim chapel. Her face wore a serene smile, and her eyes sparkled with wisdom and love, drawing others towards her. It was as if she was a bridge between the realms, beckoning all souls to listen and reflect. "Do not be afraid," she commanded gently, her voice a soothing balm. "For what you have witnessed is but a glimpse of the divine embrace that resides among you." The warmth of her reassurance enveloped the congregation, wrapping them in a cocoon of comfort. Mary found herself entranced, a sense of wonder coursing through her veins. "What do you mean?" she asked, instinctively wanting to know more. "What are we being shown?" The woman pointed to Jacob and spoke, "The miracles are not just for the body but for the spirit. Jacob's journey is a reflection of your own, a reminder that there is light in the darkest places. And this very moment, faith is igniting like a fire in your hearts." Around her, murmurs of understanding began surfacing. "A fire, yes, we are alive in his warmth." One woman exclaimed, a joyful spark lighting her face. As they spoke, Mary felt the doubt that had snuck into her heart begin to melt away. It was replaced with courage, a fierce desire to know more about this light. "What must we do to keep this flame alive?" she implored, desperate to grasp the depth of this divine experience. The woman responded, her gaze sweeping across the congregation, "You must walk in faith, even when the shadows loom. Let your heart speak words of love and hope. The moments of doubt, they will come. A life without challenge is no life at all. But stay rooted in love and community." A collective sigh of understanding swept through the chapel. Each person felt tethered to one another, their spirits intertwining in a powerful bond forged by faith. Mary glanced at Jacob, his face radiating belief, a reflection of her own. "Together, we will keep this flame alive," she whispered, and with newfound conviction, she raised her hands to the heavens, as if to catch the glory falling softly around them. "Together." The congregation echoed her words, hands lifted, hearts open, voices soaring to a crescendo of worship. "Together." They shouted, cathartic tears streaming down faces as they surrendered their doubts into the arms of the divine, but just then, a shadow flickered at the edges of their gathering, a reminder that this was a battle not only for joy but for faith itself. The elderly woman turned slightly, a knowing look crossing her face. "Remember, the night is always darkest before the dawn. But from darkness comes light." A shiver of uncertainty crept back as the air thickened once more with an unexplainable weight, and it felt as if a curtain about to rise had fallen heavily over them. What challenges loomed ahead that would test their newfound faith? As the worship echoed within the walls, anticipation hung in the air like fragrant incense, infusing them all with hope and courage while simultaneously stirring the hidden fears waiting to be acknowledged. Would they stand firm against the shadows that threatened to rise? What divine revelations awaited as they stepped deeper into this journey of faith? Mary's heart raced as she took in the elderly woman's profound words. The ripple of emotion coursed through the chapel, pulling every soul deeper into this sacred moment. Within that atmosphere, a new flame ignited, merging vulnerability with resolve. "Let us journey forward," the woman urged, her voice steady. "Faith is fueled by action. It must be nurtured through kindness and understanding." As she spoke, an overwhelming sense of purpose washed over Mary. She could feel the presence of something greater just below the surface, waiting to be unleashed. Around her, the congregation shifted, their eyes widening as if caught by a divine spark. "Where do we begin?" a young man called out from the back. His voice trembled with eagerness and uncertainty. "Begin within your hearts," the woman replied, her expression softening. "Each of you carries a choice to reveal love to a world desperate for warmth. This light you carry, it must be shared." In that moment, Jacob came forward, his face glowing with newfound clarity. "But how do we do this?" he implored, searching the eyes of those around him. "How do we shine in times of darkness?" The elderly woman smiled knowingly, "In the simple acts of love. In being there for one another. In courage. When the dawn breaks, it does so one ray at a time." Understanding flickered in the eyes of the people, like a lantern fanned to life. They were ready to embrace the call. Yet, a tension pulsed in the air, as if the shadows sensed their newfound determination. Mary felt a chill touch her skin. What if we are met with resistance?" she whispered, voicing a fear visible now on other faces. "Even so," the woman reassured, "remember that resistance can lead to growth. For a seed does not sprout in gentle soil but in the challenge of hard earth. Embrace the struggle, it will fortify your foundation." The congregation nodded, hearts warmed by the wisdom shared. Mary clung to her words like a lifeline. Faith was no longer a gentle whisper but a fierce roar within her. A moment of stillness embraced them, wrapping the gathering in a cocoon of contemplative quiet. It was Jacob who broke the silence then. "I will share my light," he declared, unabashedly. "Me too." Others shouted, their spirits rising. "We will share our love." Such declarations spread through the chapel like wildfire, igniting joy and determination. The air shimmered with conviction, and Mary could feel the divine beating of her heart aligned with theirs. It was beautiful, like the petals of a sunflower awakening to the sun's glow. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the chapel, rattling the windows and stirring their souls. The elderly woman raised her arms, as if welcoming change. "This is it. Embrace this moment. What you have come to know today will carry you in ways you could never imagine." As the wind howled outside, Mary's heart raced with something akin to bravery. "We are not alone," she breathed, locking eyes with Jacob. Determination flourished amongst the faces around her. But in the back, an uneasy murmur began, weaving through the crowd like a whisper of doubt. What if we fail? A voice called out. The room froze again, tension thickening the air like fog. The woman turned slowly, her eyes shimmering with compassion yet fierce resolve. Remember, every failure is a stepping stone to glory. The path is not linear, it is woven with grace, hope, and trials. As she spoke, they seemed to breathe as one aligned in purpose, yet confronting the shadows brewing at the edges. With newfound intensity, the elderly woman raised her head higher, eyes fixed above. Prepare, beloved, for soon the dawn shall break anew, revealing what you never thought possible. Mary's spirit soared, yet a nagging uncertainty crept back. What was waiting in the shadows? What trials would test their faith further? The chapel buzzed with expectation, as heartbeats echoed like drums of war. A pulse of communion surged through them, uniting diverging hopes under one sturdy banner. Would they be ready when their moment came? Would their united light pierce through the looming darkness? The air vibrated with anticipation, the answer flying just out of reach, like the first rays of dawn edging toward daybreak. As the wind settled into whispers around the chapel, an electric stillness gripped the air. Mary glanced at Jacob, whose eyes shone with fervor. How could they be so resolute, yet drift so close to uncertainty? The elderly woman lowered her arms, inviting a quiet reverence. We stand on the cusp of something incredible, she said, her voice resonating softly yet powerfully. But remember, fear can disguise itself as wisdom. Do not let it cloud your vision. Jacob took a step back, considering her words with the seriousness of a soldier preparing for battle. If fear is lingering, then it means something is on the horizon, something transformative, he pondered aloud. Exactly, the woman replied, her gaze scanning the congregation. Clarity often emerges from doubt, but your hearts must remain open. Embrace what you feel, and allow it to guide you. Mary felt the truth of her words enter her spirit like water into parched land. She closed her eyes, giving permission for the weight of her worries to flow out, replaced by a lighter sense of purpose. Suddenly, a woman seated near the front broke the silence, her voice trembling. But how do we face the darkness if it should come? What if we lose our courage in those moments? The room hung in her question, suspended between fear and faith. Mary's pulse quickened, a flicker of doubt igniting in her chest. Courage is not the absence of fear, the elderly woman answered, her voice firm and gentle. It is the choice to move forward regardless. When you feel fear creep into your heart, remember the light you carry. Let it push you to act. The question resonated deep within Mary. Many moments in her life had been overshadowed by fear, and she wondered how many more would come. Yet, the seeds of resolve were beginning to take root. Trust in each other, the woman continued, her tone reassuring. By lifting one another, we stand stronger. Together we can build a fortress against the storms. Mary's heart surged as she looked around at familiar faces, their struggles woven into their stories. She could see the flickering flames of determination sparking in their eyes. In moments of doubt, seek out your brothers and sisters, the woman urged. Communicate, share. Your victories are not yours alone if you lift your community. Nods echoed through the chapel, a quiet ripple of agreement. One by one, they glanced at each other, forming a network of unspoken promises of mutual light, rooted in their collective faith. Together we can soar, Jacob said, his voice gaining strength. We are all part of this journey, bound by love. No one should walk alone. As he spoke, Mary felt a warmth radiating from the group. It pulsed through them, igniting a fire of solidarity. Each heart beat in rhythm, and in that moment, they were no longer separated by individual doubts but unified by a grander purpose. Remember, the elderly woman reminded them, her gaze becoming intense as the sunlight flooded through the chapel windows, breaking into a spectacle of swirling colors. When you stand together, darkness flees. Never underestimate the power of your united love. The atmosphere became charged, it felt alive with expectancy. Mary lost herself in that energy, a brush with the divine that somehow felt tangible. Yet, the shadows still lurked. What challenges awaited them on this journey? What might they face as they stepped boldly into the world? As the questions hung in the air, the elderly woman smiled softly, allowing silence to wash over them. Be alert, beloved, for your next call to action may arrive unexpectedly. Open your hearts to its arrival. A feeling of dread and anticipation surged through Mary, planting seeds of a resolute question: how would they respond when the call came? And more importantly, what growth awaited them beyond their fears? The answer danced in the air just out of reach, waiting to be uncovered, as the light continued to shine brighter against the dimmed corners of the chapel. The days following that gathering felt both thrilling and uncertain. Mary awoke each morning with a sense of urgency lingering in the corners of her heart. Her thoughts turned to the elderly woman's words, echoing in her mind like the soft toll of a bell. Each time she sat in prayer, she sensed a growing vibrancy in her spirit, a pull towards something greater. One bright morning, a group convened again in the chapel. The air was heavy with expectation, a palpable shimmer that charged each soul present. Mary exchanged glances with Jacob, their shared understanding ignited silent affirmations of readiness. As they settled into their seats, the elderly woman stood at the front, her presence commanding yet inviting. Beloveds, she began, let us not forget the divine invitations that come disguised as challenges. Her voice rose, brimming with warmth. Today, we explore what we fear the most, for therein lies the key to our collective freedom. Fear, once a haunting shadow, now seemed so much more than a mere specter. It transformed into a lesson, one they all yearned to learn. The elderly woman paced slowly, her eyes flickering over her audience, igniting the spark of revelation in each one. Dare to face the darkness. Let it guide you, guide us, toward the light. The walls of the chapel felt as if they were closing in, offering protection and intimacy. Mary closed her eyes, surrendering to the moment. She envisioned herself in the midst of darkness, and rather than recoiling, she felt the urge to embrace it. Therein lay strength, she realized a strength that existed in the acceptance of uncertainty. Remember, the woman continued, the moment we confront fear and say, I will not be defined by this, we lift not just ourselves but those around us in the same breath. Her voice was like a soothing balm, wrapping around them, reassuring and powerful. Jacob leaned forward, captivated. So when fear comes knocking, we are to welcome it as a friend? He asked, half joking, yet serious in his thought. The elderly woman nodded knowingly. Yes, but remember, it is not about making fear our ally in a way that holds us captive. It's about understanding that in our vulnerability lies immense power. A soft murmur resonated through the congregation. They began to understand fear was not the end, but a beginning. The room filled with a tangible energy, hearts synchronizing in realization. Then, without warning, a dark cloud swept over the horizon, rolling into view outside the stained glass windows. It cast an immediate shadow, dimming the colors around them. Gasps filled the chapel. Mary felt a looming dread clutch at her heart. Is that the darkness we must face? She thought, a tightening in her chest signaling both fear and excitement. No matter what happens, Jacob whispered to her, we have each other. His resolve steadied her, deflecting the fear creeping back in, reminding her of the collective strength pulsating through the room. The elderly woman raised her hands to the heavens, eyes closed as she prayed, asking for guidance, for protection. Their silence deepened, drawing them closer to one another, as they felt the stirring of hope in their souls. Suddenly, rays of light broke through the clouds, catching the chapel in a golden glow. A collective sigh of relief swept through the group. The fear began to ebb, replaced by assurance. But, the woman spoke, her voice filled with urgency, stay vigilant. The real test awaits. Let us move forth together, ready to embrace what comes next. Mary's heartbeat quickened. Would they be strong enough? Would their faith withstand the storms both literal and metaphorical? A sense of divine purpose began to crystallize in her mind. Next, the woman continued, we will embark on a journey to the forest outside the town. There lay challenges that await us, trials to transform us. And with those words, Mary felt the thrill of adventure mingling with divine purpose, her heart ready to rush forward. What trials would the forest reveal? And what treasures of faith awaited them on the other side of darkness? The morning sun rose gently, casting a warm glow over the chapel. It felt different today, more vibrant somehow, as if even the air was infused with excitement. The congregation gathered, buzzing with anticipation, hearts synchronized in a rhythm of hope. Mary exchanged glances with Jacob as they took their seats, a silent promise passing between them. They were in this together, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The elderly woman entered, her presence still commanding, yet inviting warmth into the room. "Beloveds," she began, her voice a gentle stream that flowed through the space, "we stand on the threshold of transformation. The forest will test us, yes, but it will also reveal untold wonders." Each word hung in the air, heavy with potential. As she spoke, Mary felt a mixture of trepidation and excitement bubbling within her. The forest loomed large in her imagination, dense trees, winding paths, the unknown resting just beyond the next bend. What awaited them there? "Here is the truth," the woman continued, pacing slowly. "In every trial, there exists a divine revelation waiting to unveil itself. When we embrace the struggle, we lay the foundation for extraordinary growth." The air crackled around them as the group absorbed her words, their minds whirling with possibilities. Mary closed her eyes again and pictured herself walking through the forest. The leaves whispered secrets, and shadows danced at the fringes of her vision. "Fear not the challenges ahead, for they are your greatest teachers," the woman assured them, her voice steadying the hearts racing within the chapel. "Instead, let them drive you deeper into faith." In that moment, a wave of courage washed over Mary, warming her spirit. She remembered moments from her past, encounters that shaped her understanding of faith. If struggles were necessary for spiritual growth, then she dared to embrace them. She could already feel the divine love surrounding her, preparing her for the path ahead. Jacob leaned closer, his voice a mere whisper. "What if we forget? What if we stumble?" There was vulnerability in his tone, the kind that tied them together, deepening their bond. "Then we remember that we were never meant to walk in isolation. We lean on one another," Mary replied, a confident smile breaking over her face. "That's what this is all about, isn't it?" The elderly woman nodded approvingly. "Exactly. Remember this, community amplifies faith. Let each step be infused with love as we walk together." As they ascended from the chapel, the golden light outside welcomed them, a sign of hope and promise. The path to the forest stretched before them, enticing yet daunting. Mary felt the adrenaline racing through her veins. She stepped forward, joining her companions on the journey. Each one of them carried their own bags of fears, hopes, and dreams. A vibrant tapestry of faith woven together, ready for anything. The nearer they got to the edge of the woods, the more the sounds of nature enveloped them. Birds sang high above, and leaves crunched benevolently beneath their feet. As they crossed into the shaded solitude, shadows wrapped around them like a cloak. "Here is where we begin," the elderly woman announced, her voice steady. "Keep your hearts open and your spirits light. The trials are not what you fear, but how you respond to them." Mary felt a stirring deep within. With each step into the forest, she understood, transformation awaited them, but what trials lay hidden in the underbrush? What challenges awaited at the heart of the woods, shrouded in mystery, waiting to reveal the treasures of faith? The trees stood tall like guardians of ancient secrets as Mary and her companions ventured deeper into the forest. With each step, the air grew thicker, a magnetic energy compelling them forward. The light filtered through the leaves, creating a mosaic of shadow and glow that felt alive. It wrapped around them, inviting yet mysterious. Mary paused, feeling the weight of the moment. A gentle breeze whispered through the branches, as if nature itself was speaking to her heart. She closed her eyes to listen. "What do you want to reveal, Lord?" She silently prayed, hoping for a glimpse of the divine. "Look!" Jacob's voice broke through her contemplation, pointing towards a small clearing up ahead. As they approached, an unexpected sight unfolded, a group of wildflowers blooming vibrantly amid the lush green. Their colors danced like confetti against the earth, a bold reminder of beauty amidst the towering trees. The elderly woman smiled as she knelt beside the flowers, her fingers brushing gently over the petals. See how they thrive in conditions that seem unfit. They remind us how faith can flourish, even in adversity. The thoughts wrapped around Mary like a warm embrace. Here, in the forest, amidst trials, beauty blossomed unexpectedly. What divine lessons were nestled just beneath the surface of her own life? As they gathered in the clearing, the air shifted. Everything felt charged with anticipation, as if divine eyes were watching, waiting for them to engage. A soft rustle came from behind them. A small deer peered cautiously from the bush, its big eyes reflecting curiosity. It took a tentative step forward before vanishing into the thicket again. "Look at that," murmured a voice from the group. "It's like the forest is alive." The woman nodded knowingly. God's creations respond to the gentle touch of faith. Just like the deer, sometimes we must take a step out into the unknown, trusting that the Spirit will guide us. Mary felt the truth of those words settle deep in her heart. The forest was not just about the fears she carried, it was also about the faith she could cultivate. The challenges ahead were no longer looming threats but divine invitations to grow closer to the heart of God. As they pushed forward, the shadows lengthened, and the path twisted unexpectedly. The trees seemed to close in, creating a labyrinth that challenged their resolve. A shared glance exchanged between Mary and Jacob reflected a blend of determination and doubt. Could they find their way through? "Remember." The elderly woman's voice rang out, reminding them of the promise made back in the chapel. Every turn in this journey holds a lesson. Do not let fear overshadow your faith. They pressed on, and with every stride, Mary sensed an internal wiring shifting. Suddenly, a vibrant call of a bird echoed from above, startling her. "It feels like the forest is alive," she exhaled, glancing skyward, mesmerized by the intricate tapestry of branches. "Yes, it is alive," Jacob whispered. "And maybe, so are we. Each of us, in this moment, experiencing a part of God's story." But doubt still clung to them, like the sliver of light slipping through the dense foliage. What if they stumbled? What if the path became too narrow or their courage trembled? The questions floated unspoken in the air, echoing in the depths of their spirits. Just then, a faint shimmering light broke through the crowding branches ahead. It flickered like a candle fighting against the night. Was it a sign? Could it be the hope they sought? A sacred hush fell upon the group, hearts quickening with a mix of fear and curiosity. The promise of revelation drew them forward, urging them to step into the light, and as they drew closer, something within Mary ignited a spark of faith that whispered, "This is only the beginning." What awaited them beyond the light? Would they embrace the revelation waiting to unfold? As they stepped into the light, a gentle warmth enveloped them, casting away the remnants of doubt. It felt like stepping into another realm, where the air thrummed with life and purpose. The shimmering glow revealed a breathtaking sight, a glade filled with crystalline waters, reflecting the sky like a mirror. The sound of bubbling water mixed with the whispers of leaves created a symphony that seemed to beckon them closer. Mary's breath caught in her throat. This was more than just a beautiful place, it felt sacred, a tender invitation from the Creator. The elderly woman raised her hands to the sky, allowing the light to wash over her. "Here is where the Spirit breathes hope," she declared softly. "Here, all burdens are lifted, and truth is revealed." Mary watched as Jacob dipped his fingers into the water, sending ripples spiraling outward. Each movement stirred something deep in her. What if this is where we truly find what we seek? She pondered, stepping forward to join him. As her fingers broke the surface, an unexpected surge rushed through her. Images danced in her mind, moments of love, kindness, and strength, each reflecting the heart of God. A sudden understanding blossomed within her. "It's not only about asking for answers," she whispered, "but about acknowledging everything we've already received." The elderly woman joined them by the water's edge, her eyes shimmering with delight. "Yes. Often, we forget the many blessings that weave through our lives. Each remembrance is a thread in our faith tapestry, strengthening our resolve. Jacob nodded, peering at the colorful fish darting beneath the surface. Sometimes, our eyes are fixed on the surface, missing all the richness below, he said, his voice full of realization. What if we turn toward the depths of life's waters? In that moment, Mary understood their journey through the forest had always led them here not just to a beautiful location, but to a deeper understanding of their purpose. They were gathering spiritual treasures, ready to embrace the divine story unfolding around them, yet just as quickly as the revelation blossomed, a shadow darted across the glade. The light flickered as the presence of a dark figure emerged from the trees, cloaked and ominous. Fear washed over Mary like a cold wave. The peaceful scene transformed in an instant, unraveling the warmth they had just felt. What is this? The elderly woman gasped, stepping protectively in front of the younger ones. Fear cannot find a footing here. The figure moved closer, cloaked in mystery, and with voice like gravel, it spoke, "You think you have found your truth, but these waters conceal darkness." Mary's heart raced, echoing with doubt. What dark truth could this figure possibly unveil? Desperation clawed at her spirit, but deep within, the embers of faith struggled to ignite. Hadn't she just begun to trust? Wasn't he the light calling her deeper? Gathering her courage, she took a step forward, the water glistening under her feet. We've embraced the light. She declared, her voice strong. We are not afraid of what lies beneath, for in every darkness, the light only shines brighter. A flicker of surprise crossed the shadowed figure's face, yet a wicked smile crept back, revealing sharp teeth. Then prepare yourselves, for what you think you know, is about to be challenged. The air thickened again, and a stillness fell over the glade. What revelation awaited them now? Would they be equipped to encounter the darkness intertwined with their journey? Mary felt the weight of their course shift. But one thing was certain: the light they had discovered could not be snuffed. It only ignited a greater desire to confront whatever lay ahead. What truths would emerge from the depths, and how would it transform their understanding of faith? They stood on the precipice of divine revelation, ready to step bravely into the unknown. As the dark figure loomed before them, an unsettling tension filled the air. The shadow's words hung like a storm cloud, threatening to drown out the radiant hope they had just discovered. Mary's heart raced, but there was no backing down now. The flames of faith flickered bravely within her. "Show us what you have," Mary demanded, her voice resonating with newfound strength. "We're ready. We embrace this journey." The figure laughed, a sound that echoed ominously through the glade. "Do you think light has no shadows? Every blessing is cloaked in trials. Every truth is wrapped in layers of doubt." Mary watched as darkness slithered around the figure, whispering lies, trying to infiltrate their convictions. Yet behind her, she sensed the congregation, a strong current of shared faith supporting her. Jacob's hand clasped hers tightly, grounding her amidst the swirling fears. "Remember." The elderly woman interjected, her voice sharp and clear. "We are not alone. Our faith is our armor, and love is our weapon." Together, they formed a shield, voices rising in chorus. "We are not afraid. We walk in faith." As they shouted, the light intensified, filling the air with golden radiance that enveloped them. The dark figure recoiled, shadows retreating like a tide pulled away by a moonlit wind. "Your unity is your power," it hissed, frustration rising in its tone. But what happens when doubt creeps in? In that moment, Mary felt a pang of fear rise in her heart. She thought of past struggles, of times when uncertainty had cast a long shadow over her faith. She remembered when she had questioned her prayers, those haunting phrases that had nearly extinguished her hope. It was a reminder that darkness could return if they were not vigilant, yet, she refused to let fear dominate the moment. "We acknowledge doubt, but we do not yield to it," she shouted, voice unwavering. "Together, we lift each other to the light." Tears of determination streamed down her cheeks as she carried the strength of her community. Each face around her affirmed her courage, nodding and echoing her conviction. Suddenly, a warm breeze swept through the glade, carrying whispers of love and faith from the hearts of each villager present. With every intake of breath, Mary felt the burdens lift. The shadows began to dissolve, the air humming with anticipation and courage. Hope thrives in truth, the elderly woman called, her arms raised high. Speak your truth. Let the light be greater than the darkness. At that moment, Jacob stepped forward, heart wide open, vulnerability pouring from his soul. I was lost in addiction, but I found light through love, he began, his voice trembled but rang true. I faced the darkness, and it was terrifying. But knowing I was loved helped me see the way out. Each testimony that followed was like a spark igniting the air, stories of hardship, loss, recovery, and resilience. With every shared experience, heaviness lifted further, turning shadows to vapor. I once doubted my worth, a woman shouted. But then I embraced my failures, each one transformed into wisdom. I felt abandoned, but found a family here, another voice cried out, trembling with faith, the elderly woman nodded, smiles breaking over the faces, eyes glistening with hope. That's the truth, beloveds. Your shared struggles weave a masterpiece of victories. The darkness has no power against your collective light. Gradually, the dark figure began to fade, shriveling under the illumination of their joined voices, until it was nothing more than a wisp of smoke dancing in the air. Stillness returned. Mary stood breathless, looking around as her eyes met Jacob's shining with joy, love filling that sacred space. We have faced our fears, he whispered, and found freedom in faith. With hearts entwined, they bowed their heads, giving thanks. The glimmering water reflected their joy, shimmering like stars across the surface. Go reflect this freedom, the elderly woman instructed, encourage one another. Let light shine in dark places, and together we will press forward. Mary and her community embraced one another, hearts reinvigorated with purpose. In that moment, the weight of doubts had transformed into wings of hope. Together, echoed through the forest as they stepped forward, reborn and renewed. Their journey had infused them with resolve, igniting a flame that they would carry into the world beyond. Leaving the glade, they ventured forth, embracing everything that awaited them, invigorated with the power of truth. Their faith blossomed, a beacon of love illuminating paths previously shrouded in uncertainty. Moments passed, but they would rise again if necessary. They had faced darkness and transformed it into light. United in spirit, they stepped into the world with confidence, knowing that the sacred dance between light and shadow was a journey for all. Faith demanded action, and love poured forth from their hearts, ready to embrace the challenges of tomorrow. Their lives became a testament, a divine declaration that hope could breathe and flourish even in the most troubled soil. Praise God. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread this message of hope. Comment below your reactions and testimonies about this incredible ending. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Don't wait even one more second. True servants of God understand the importance of lifting each other in faith.